Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the Everyday Adventure Podcast. It's episode 19, and in this episode, we're going to explore why you can't get where you want to go if you don't identify where you are. And so we're going to dive into this topic and really talk about why it is so common that we have great desires and we want better marriages, we want better relationships, better health, but we stay stuck. And I think identifying where you are and getting honest about that is the first step. So this episode is called You Are Here, and I am here with Megan. What's up, Megan?
Hey, nice.
Did you like that?
Yeah, it's a good transition.
On the fly.
Yeah.
On the fly. But no, I'm super excited for this episode, but I'm excited to be sitting next to you. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're
How's
good.
it going? Yeah.
It's going great. I know we've got a lot to celebrate and anticipate this week, and I want to start with you. I know you are about to go on the Bob Goff writing retreat from when we're recording this, but we're going to shake it up this week. I want to hear what you're celebrating right now.
Yeah, well, I'm celebrating, so yeah, a lot of things coming ahead, but last weekend I went and just had a weekend with my grandma, and it was just so sweet. I'm just celebrating that I have older generations still in my life, in my family. I'm just really grateful for them. And just, yeah, the stories that she has, it's just like, I mean, it's a classic grandma, you know? So
Yeah.
she's just full of how it was and how she met my grandpa and their first date and stuff. And so it was just sweet. And I'm just really grateful for my family and the ability to drive and see them, still be close by. So
That's super fun.
Yeah. What about you? What are you anticipating this week?
I feel like there's a few things. I'm anticipating right now, though, tonight I'm going to speak at a youth event. And what's really fun about it is that it's former Chi Alpha students that are kind of youth leaders now. And so they're the ones that reached out to me. And so I don't fully know what to expect, but I'm just excited because it's really fun to be able to come back and do ministry alongside of people that played a role in your life or you played a role in theirs. And I officiated their wedding, like, I don't know, 9 years ago or something like that. And so to be able to come hang out with them today, I'm going to go to their house before the event and stuff. I'm just really excited to see them, but also to kind of have an opportunity. We're going to talk about kind of the ideas like don't waste your life and really pull in from everyday adventure. And I'm pumped to be able to hang out with some teenagers. It's not my like what I would say sweet spot in speaking in ministry, but it's always challenging to me. And I'm actually looking forward to like that challenge side of it.
Like the topic or the youth group?
Just youth, like to hold their attention, to be engaging. Because I don't think you have to be like a clown to entertain and to communicate to teenagers, but I do think it's important to connect. And so I've always found it's much more like taxing on me to connect with them and you don't have to do it through memes and gifs but you need to tell stories that are relevant, and you need to say things in a way and in a cadence that they connect with. So I always find myself leaving youth events being very proud of like the preparation side of speaking, because it's just not my automatic like people to talk to. So I'm pumped about that.
Yeah. You also have a really exciting event coming up.
Yeah.
And well, not the end of the month, in a couple weeks though.
Yeah, on June 6th, we're doing our Slow Down Saturday event. It's our first workshop. This is something that we've talked about and dreamed about really for the last 8 months or whatever, of just kind of what this next chapter of life would look like and ministry would look like and all those things. And so this is going to be one of those. We'll come back to it here in a little bit of kind of more about that. I am just excited to get people in a room to be able to help people identify where they're at, where they're going, and really in a time frame of summer where it's like summer flies by in the Midwest. We only have 3 months of nice weather, but I know for me, almost every summer ends and I kind of wonder like, where did it go? And I would really like to start the summer with intentionality. And so that's what we're going to do. And really it leads into what we're talking about today, because we're really talking about like you are here. And whenever I do this with anybody, groups or individuals, that's one of the first things we do is, where are you now? So if you want to have a great summer, if you want to make memories at the lake, if you want to go golfing more than you did last summer, if you want to finish that project that's been lingering, we also need to identify where we're at. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode.
Yeah. It's so good. It just made me think of when you're like, if you want to go golfing, you have to like understand where you are. I'm like, yeah, you need like golf clubs, like you can't
Yeah.
just like go golfing.
You need golf clubs, you need golf balls, you
Mhm.
need, you need, you don't need them, but friends to go
Mhm.
golfing with. And so it's funny, like last summer, literally, I made a list of all of the people that I know golf. And it made last summer way more fun because if I had my friends that golf with me know that I'm the king of like, hey, do you want to go golfing today at 2:30? I
Mhm.
found a tee time. And so having a big list has just made it more fun because I can find people to do it with. And so
Mhm.
just a simple way. But
Mhm.
I think when we talk about life in general, this idea of you are here is really important.
Mhm.
And I always go back to like the map analogy. Like if
Mhm.
you've ever been at, I don't know why I always say it, but the mall, and you're
Mhm.
looking for a particular store, one of the first places I go, maybe I'm just old, maybe I'm aging myself here, Megan,
Mhm.
but I go to the kiosk that has the map of everything and I figure out where it is, but I'm figuring out where it is in relation to where I am.
Mhm.
And if we don't identify where we're at, we could start walking towards pretzel maker.
Mhm.
Uh, and we could go in the wrong direction if we don't know where we're starting from. And I think so often in life we do that. We think we're starting in one place or and we end up going down this road only to realize that we're farther away from where we thought we would be. And so for me, this is like honest self awareness, not for guilt or shame purposes, but for just understanding if I want to have a great summer, I need to realize what's going to prevent me from having a great summer. I need to realize what rhythms and habits I am not living in that would allow me to grow spiritually this summer or whatever the case is. So that's kind of the big idea. And I know, have you ever gone on your phone and like typed in on the GPS a location, but you don't set your location? Like if your Jeep or if your Bluetooth is off or if your
Mhm.
location settings are off, it'll take it from like the last place you were. And so I
Yeah.
remember one time I was trying to get somewhere and I typed it in and it was like 45 minutes and I was just like, this makes zero sense. And I looked at it and I started kind of driving and then it dawned on me like, it's not taking me from where I am, it's taking me from where I was. And so I think that's kind of the point of what we're talking about today.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good. And I think that there's we all have intentions of who we want to be and like what we hope we can say at the end of the summer. And I think just without pausing and taking like inventory of where you're at right now, um, you can just fall into like your default
Yeah,
habits and like default setting. I think we all just kind of you just go through the motions, live every day, and then at the end of the summer you're like, oh wait, I
for
don't think
sure.
I got to where I wanted to be. And so that's really the heart of this is just get honest and be real about where you're at right now. But there's a lot of things that I think hinder people from like wanting to.
Yeah,
I think
why do you think that it like what prevents us from doing that in the first place?
hmm Yeah. Oh, I think there's a lot of reasons. One, I think honesty is uncomfortable. And so being willing to admit it is hard. We confuse awareness with failure. And so sometimes seeing that we're not where we want to be or where we wish we were can be really discouraging. We stay busy to avoid reflection. And so we've got busy lives and we don't give the time to it either. We compare instead of assessing, and so looking at everyone else and where they're at. And I think that is a very common one. I think actually is just looking at other people's lives and being stuck in the, well, I'm not as good as them or I'm not where they are, so what's the point? And so I think that's a huge one. There's also the fear that we fear what we might discover. So we fear like what might come up when you sit and reflect or when you sit and goal set that, hey, your habits aren't leading you to where you want to be or that you have a lot more work to do than you thought you did. Those kind of things. We also tell ourselves partial truths. So we soften the edge just enough to avoid having the real conversation. So deep, but just deep enough,
Yeah.
stick in the shallows and you're safe. And so, but you also never get to like experience the full like kind of process through what you're walking through and what you actually have like for goals and dreams in your life too. And so yeah, partial truths. And then we fear disappointing ourselves, and so it can be hard to admit that the life we imagine and the life we're living don't fully match which I think is where I've gotten stuck to, is just feeling like I'm letting myself down, or like I will let myself down by creating too big of goals, which is also what we'll talk about as well. It's just like make it manageable,
Yeah.
moving forward too. And then the last one I think is we don't know what to do next. So sometimes avoiding honesty feels safer than identifying a problem we're unsure how to solve. So once you identify the problem or the reality, now what? And that can be very daunting for people.
Yeah, I think those are all good. And I hope as you're listening that you are able to kind of identify a couple of those, that I avoid creating the space or taking the time to identify where I'm at today because of this. And I think you touched on the one comparison. I think it is so easy when it comes to whether it's finances or like parenting or health. I think so many times in health, it's like we have the picture of what our body should look like or what we should feel like, and we look to the left or the right, and it gets really discouraging because it almost feels like, well, how am I supposed to do this, or how am I supposed to do that? Like it would be like me going to the gym and being on a bench next to a bodybuilder who has 4 plates on each side, and me just walking away like, oh, I'll never do it. But the reality is, like, this is where I'm at today. I have 1 plate, and I'm not trying to get to 4 plates. Like in reality, like me growing stronger is the goal. And so instead of looking there, but we do that so often, or, I think that not knowing what to do next is another one that stands out to me, of just, okay, now I know that I am failing in this area. Now I know that I have this relational quirk that keeps people away, and I've maybe taken the time now to realize that about myself, but I don't know how to fix it. Like I don't know how to move past that. And I think that's where we want to come alongside of you, because I think this isn't about guilt and shame. This isn't about seeing now how bad you are, and how it's about recognizing the reality of our lives so we can give it to God. Because we talked about it in a recent episode, like God has this way of healing what we reveal. Like it's very rare in my life anyways, that just something that I'm unwilling to confess, or I'm unwilling to navigate, or I'm unwilling to talk about, or I'm unwilling to deal with, just suddenly evaporates. Like think about a relationship. You have a broken relationship with a family member or a coworker or a friend. It doesn't just get better.
Right.
But when we can, and this has happened in my life time and time again, when I've realized, like, man, there's a gap here. There's a miss here. We keep offending each other. We keep hurting each other's feelings. And I can actually take note of what that looks like in my life. Like, yeah, I don't give grace. I am very impatient with them. I have too high of expectations. Being able to admit some of those things, it actually gives us like the blocks and a racetrack to push off of. Because now I know I need to apologize. Like I need to come to them and start with that. And so I think that's part of this, is like, how do we start? We start with honesty, but we don't end there. It's not to shame us, guilt us, or to make us feel less than.
Yeah, that reminds me, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was sharing with her about wanting to start writing and that whole process. And I just said it's like really vulnerable to admit that you want to start something. And she's like, well, I think it's vulnerable to want something better for yourself, or to want to chase a dream, or to want to to have to admit that out loud feels very like risky. And that I've just been sitting with it for a couple weeks now, of just to want better for yourself. For some reason, I think is really hard to admit for a lot of people, and myself included, that I don't like where I am right now. And I want something better for myself. Feels like, I don't know, you're admitting out loud to other people something that is, if it's quiet and keeps inside your head, you don't have to act on it,
For sure. Well, I think it kind of brings back even just the idea that this isn't self-help in the sense of just hoping for better and just wishing it into existence. Like the whole Journeyway framework is we view it as a journey on a map, because we have this point that we're at. we have this point that we would like to be, or we feel God calling us to be, and then we actually set the course and we walk with him. And I think that's the spirit filled, faith filled part of this, is like we are going to actually give these things to God and say, God, like, you are the source of what I desire. You are the only answer to this ache in my heart. You are, whether it's our finances, like, it's one thing to just say, I want to be a millionaire, but it's another thing I want to be a steward of what God has entrusted me with so that I can be a blessing to others. And when we offer that up to God, and then we start to take those practical steps with him, that's a way of honoring him. It's a way of living out our worship. It's a way of living out our calling and who we are. And so I think that's the big heart of this. And I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, so we're so good at being the imposter. So talking about why we avoid, like, identifying that starting point, identifying that you are here pin on the map, is because we really struggle with wanting to be somebody else. I know that's me. Like, I go back to middle school when, all my friends had wings, the hair that flipped over their ears just so perfectly they could fly, and I had like spaghetti stick straight hair, and I remember rubbing the sides of my head so that it would produce curls. And I remember doing that for like a whole day. And, people were like, whoa, cool hair, and I got to my car and my dad's like, what is this? My wings were not DAD approved. I was not approved for takeoff. But I think that's like the thing that we fall into over and over again, is we have a hard time growing. We have a hard time stepping into what God has for us, because we are so unwilling to just come to grips with, I am broken, or I struggle with this, or I have terrible habits, and we're unwilling to do that because we want to put on this face for other people, or even for ourselves. We don't want to accept it. And so I think that acceptance part of this is huge.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, we always want to be practical with this. And so I think everyone understands that, like, they all want to grow in something. They all want to, have a good summer, an intentional summer too. And so what ways can this be, like, practical? Like, what questions do we ask, or like, how do we start identifying our "you are here" pin?
Yeah, I think this is where we have really spent so much time over the last few years, even talking about this, thinking about this, implementing it in our own lives. And the first thing, I think, is to take that honest, like, inventory, to really kind of take the different areas of our life and give ourselves an evaluation. And, like, it feels maybe cold or sterile to, like, go through our lives. And I don't say do this weekly. I don't say do this monthly. Like, this is something that I try to do 4 times a year, 3 times a year, where I just kind of sit down and go, okay, how am I doing in these different areas of my life? How am I doing in parenting? How am I doing in marriage? And, the full list that we use is spiritual health, emotional health, physical health, our finances, work or school, marriage or significant relationships, parenting or extended family, friendships, hobbies and fun, and dreams and side hustles. And this is kind of, you can add to that, you can take away from that. There's one that might be relevant or not, but these are just kind of core areas that I feel like are in my life, but also universal, that we can actually go down. And whether you give a letter grade or just a score 1 to 10, that to me is the first step, is just like, holistically, in this area of my life, spiritual life, how am I doing? And that number sometimes can be emotional. It can be, and I think that's why building in some sort of way to go about this, questions to ask yourself, to give yourself unbiased kind of a way to measure this, and then putting words to that, and giving it actually, like, this is what I mean by that, and this is the truth, without any beefing it up or making it sound prettier than it is. This is the truth of this area. And so I think that's, to me, it's part of it, is one, giving the lanes, because if I just look at my whole life and I'm like, how am I doing? It's like, I'm doing great in some areas and I'm really stinking it up in others. Like, I feel like parenting is in this place and it's going well, but at the cost of something else. We are very complex creatures that there's a lot going on at any given
Mhm.
time. And so sometimes it's about kind of going back a little bit and saying, okay, here's all of me, and and presenting that, to God.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh, it's good. I love that, like, breaking your life up into the different sections is so helpful because, like you said, you can look at your life and be like, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I'm not wasting my life, you know? But if you start asking yourself about specific areas, you can really identify, okay, I thought I was doing better than I am in this. And so that's what's been helpful for me. And so break it up into your sections and then, yeah, score yourself in some way, whether it's the letter grade. I do red, yellow, green. Um, just color code it. So, and then that's been helpful is to just assess it like, okay, right now, today, how am I doing in this area? And then, yeah, writing it out, I think is huge just to admit it. Not hide behind your letter, the number that you chose or the color or whatever, but to say right now, today, full honesty, how is this going?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's why the honest statement is so important because, if we've all gotten a grade before and we don't know why, like,
mm-hmm,
and we can do that to ourselves. We can say like, oh, I'm sneaking in this area. But when we start to actually think about it, we realize that just like our whole lives, individual parts of our lives, our marriage, like there's things that are going well and there's things that aren't. And so that honest statement to me is actually probably the bigger part of this, and just having the that you are here statement. This is without any, sparkly words to it.
mm-hmm,
Like this is just the reality of it. And what I've found is by doing that, it gives me a lot of freedom. One, because I'm able, and I'm not just identifying the negative things. And I think that's something I don't want people to pass over,
mm-hmm,
is that like this is where we also identified the things that are going well, the parts of our life or the parts of our relationships or our friendships that are going well, and it gives us that reality of like, yeah, like friendships, for instance. Like I really, desire to build some closer friendships, but I have so many good people in my life, and I've had moments in the last 2 weeks where friends have showed up for me in powerful ways, or words of encouragement. I was just with a group of people last night and they took time to just speak life into me, and I wouldn't consider these people like close friends, but the relationships, the friendships that God has put in my life are a huge blessing to me. But I still desire to have a few guys that I can go really deep with and that I just know will answer the phone call. I just know will check on me throughout the week. And so I think that's we hold those both. And
mm-hmm,
so let's kind of go through a couple examples, because I think to free people up of like, what does this actually look like?
mm-hmm.
So why don't you pick an area and
Okay.
then share us your you are here statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, since you just did friendship, I'll do my friends as well. And for me, I think overall, I would say, like, if I was grading myself, it'd be a green. But I've really prioritized that in this season. At least one hangout with a friend a week, and doesn't have to be the same friend, and just trying to text people more often, and yeah, just been trying to be really intentional with that. But also, I think that ways that I can grow in it is just I have a lot of long distance friends and they've just kind of hit the back burner lately, and I think they felt it. And so trying to figure out how to have a balance of being where my feet are but also with my friends that don't live right next to me and stuff like that. And so and that's not always been the case for me in
Right.
friendships, and so this has been an area that I've really tried to grow in for a long time now. And so it's been good to just prioritize reaching out and keeping people accountable and myself, and allowing myself to um it be willing to invest in those friendships
Yeah.
too. Like, I'm worth being friends with too. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so those are my friends right now.
Cool. Yeah. For me, I'll do parenting, which I would give like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. And I'm probably hard on myself, but I wrote, since I started working from home, I have way more time at home around the kids, which I love. However, it's easy for me to be distracted or easily irritable. I get one-on-one time with each kids most weeks, but I find it harder to connect with our daughter right now, just because of it's just easier to play basketball or football or like the things that the boys are doing, where she's wanting to like do nails or to do slower things that are more hidden or whatever. And so I've just had a harder time not connecting with her in the big picture, but just like in the day-to-day moments. And our kids are great listeners, and I'm so proud of them. I wish we were more consistent with our spiritual habits. So again, for me, the reason I write it out and try to like, and this could be 3 paragraphs, but I try to keep it to one little paragraph, few sentences, but it hits on both the pros and the cons. So why don't you do one more area, and I'll do one more.
Yeah. So another area is my spiritual life. So I am consistently spending time with Jesus every day, but it has definitely not been consistently the same looking. I've been doing prayer walks in the mornings or evenings and journaling consistently. I've taken a break from music in my car, which has been really good. Just creating like just a safe space to talk to God throughout my day. But I haven't been prioritizing Bible reading every day, maybe 4 to 5 times a week. I've also have been starting a lot of spiritual books, but not finishing them. And that's not normal either.
Yeah.
So it was good. There's pros and there's cons right now in that area.
Yeah, for sure. And then one more for me, hobbies and fun. Golf season is right around the corner. I'm excited to golf more this summer. I've also enjoyed playing basketball with Summit. I've realized that I've struggled to let loose and just have fun lately. Work is on my mind more than I like it to be, and I don't really have any non-work related hobbies outside of golf. And that was just kind of me thinking about just hobbies and fun. And right now, I just feel like I'm in a lull in the sense of like during the football season, a group of friends, we do a golf simulator every Thursday night and we watch the game, and it's super fun. And just people get busy. I've gotten busy, and then my mind, I just feel like I can't let loose all the time. So I think again, as I sat down with this, it's like going into the summer, this is helping me identify one of the priorities for me is like, I want this summer, there's going to be unique opportunities, and I'm speaking at a couple of churches, and there's going to be some fun work related things that I feel like God's opening doors to, but I really want to protect the fun. Like I want to prioritize the fun and build some rhythm into that so that I can actually have paths that lead to fun routinely in my life this summer. And so I think by me coming to grips with that, it's helped me kind of say, okay, now what's next? And I know that's something that we're going to continue to build on throughout this. But I just want to share a few questions that you can ask yourself. And so this is just super practical questions that when you're thinking about these areas of your life, these are some questions to help you kind of jumpstart, okay, where am I? So first question, where are you? What are you feeling? Do you feel stuck? Are you hopeful about the future? Are your relationships healthy? Do you look forward to your work? What do you feel when you pull into your driveway? Where are you thriving? Where are you struggling? The one question, what do you feel when you pull into your driveway, to me has become a really great one. And I don't have a driveway to pull into in the sense of I don't come home from work. Work is home. But this one was always a challenging one to me because there was times that I feel exhaustion driving in and I don't feel like I have much left in the tank, or I know that there's a conversation that needs to be had, or like I feel excitement. And so I think that one just helps kind of home, like what does home feel like and what does work feel like? It kind of takes both of those and gives us an honest reaction to that. And so give us your kind of parting thoughts of just like, why does this matter? Why has this mattered to you?
Yeah, well, getting honest about where you are has the potential to change everything for your life. And like clarity just creates so much action. I think just like the honesty of who you are and who you want to be is defining for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, that how you spend your days is how you spend your life. And so just being honest about where you're at, I think.
It's an Annie Dillard quote right there. It's one of my favorites.
It's so good. I never know who says anything. I just steal it all.
Yeah.
So, but it's so true. And so, be willing to get honest and like do the work through this. I think it's been a game changer for me as someone that is like a very goal centric person, like wanting to have like the life that I want. Like that's just always been kind of a fueling desire for me, but I've spent a lot of years not knowing how to get there. And so this is just the first step in understanding, okay, if I want to be there, I need to start here today. So
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that, again, that's part of why we're creating Slow Down Saturday, is as a practical handle to this. What we've found, whether it's doing it with interns or doing it for me with coaching or doing it with friends or doing it just with each other or with Taylor, like this always has a way to kind of unlock things, and it all requires work. Like this is step one, and there's another step of identifying where we really want to go and really being honest about that and being realistic about that. And then we set rhythms and routes. And so what we're doing with Slow Down Saturday is kind of piecing it together. And we've just found, instead of 5-year plans and 10-year plans, what we've really enjoyed doing is taking 3 or 4 months and saying, okay, this 3 or 4 months in front of me, what's a realistic true north statement? A realistic, this is where I would like to be at the end of summer in my spiritual life. And so Slow Down Saturday is going to help people identify their you are here points. It's going to help them identify their true north, but also prioritize. Like, we can't invest equally into 10 areas of our life at all times. So we have to build in rhythms, and we have to make some choices of, what do I want to say at the end of this summer that made it fulfilling, that made it life-giving, that made it a full summer, a memorable summer. And so that's kind of what we're going to be doing. And it's going to be fun because it's going to be in community. There's going to be people there. It's going to be in a setting that actually allows us to like challenge each other and pick each other's brains. And because when we do this in group settings, what always happens is that somebody is winning in an area that we're losing in. And they're like, oh, hey, this is one of the best things that I did. And it gives us a bigger word bank of like, or a bit bigger, we call it rhythm bank, of like, what rhythms can I do in my life? Well, they just shared one that's been really helpful for them. And I've just seen that time and time again, that those begin to shape. And then we walk away with some commonality, common language, and common mission. And so we have people that we can hold each other accountable. So that's kind of my desires of Slow Down Saturday, is that as people gather together to do this, it's an investment. It's something that we choose to say, I think that this 3 hours can really set apart the next 3 months. Otherwise, we will just keep drifting, and we will get to the end of summer once again saying, where did it go?
Right. Well, yeah, and I think genuinely, I just believe that one of the biggest barriers to people growing in who they want to become is just not giving themselves the time to do it and to be intentional about it. And so this really, June 6th, gives you the time to set it aside and, hey, I'm going to make a tangible, like, intentional effort here to spend my summer, spend the next 3 months becoming who I hope to be. And then, yeah, like you said, with the community, it's a game changer, getting to talk to other people, and like the people that you get to know that day, and then getting to see them in 3 months or 4 months afterwards.
For sure.
Like, how's that going? And so, yeah, it's been super fun. And so, yeah, just, it's worth the investment of the time, I think, to be the person that you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we want to make it accessible for people too. And so if you're a married person or engaged, there's loopholes, but you can do this as a couple. And so we are doing buy one, get one half off, just to make it a little bit more accessible for people in that setting. And then also, I know you guys are podcast listeners, but I have a newsletter called the Twos Letter, comes out every Tuesday. And for anybody that's on there, they get 15% off. And so that is applied to you too. So Twos Letter 15 to get a little bit extra off of that as well. So we hope to see you at Slow Down Saturday. But as we kind of bring this episode to an end, let's end with a challenge. Like, what's the one thing that people can do today? So if they turn off this episode, what's one thing that they can do? What's their everyday adventure challenge?
Yeah. So the challenge this week is the You Are Here challenge.
Wow, that's so creative.
We're really, hitting for the fences, swinging for the fences. But yeah, so the You Are Here challenge, and we want you to take 1 or 2 of your areas in your life and get honest about it. And so create your honesty statement, just like the You Are Here statement, and give yourself a grade if you want to, but just admit it, be vulnerable, be honest, and the good and the hard in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love for you to share that with us. And so You can do that with our broadcast channel on Instagram, Evday Adventure, and you can find the channel there in the bio or on mine as well, just as a place for community. And so I'd love to have people start sharing what their You Are Here statements are. And we're going to put a post in there that you can jump onto as well. And I just highly encourage you to subscribe to the podcast if you don't already, and also share this episode with somebody and say, hey, let's do this together. We'd just love to have you along for the journey in that way. But we're so grateful that you listened to this episode. We're excited to keep building on this. We've got some fun conversations with some guests, but also we're going to continue to unpack this with some more practicality as well. So hopefully you tune back in, but we're so grateful for you. So grateful for you.
Thanks. You too.
Fun episode. We'll talk to you real soon. See you next time.